Good evening. Welcome to the Final Fantasy Wiki Podcast, the official podcast of the Final Fantasy Wiki. That just seems appropriate that those two things would be connected. But you never know anymore. The world is utter chaos and endless calamity and confusion. So, I don't know, we could have been like a knitting podcast or a fantasy football podcast or a podcast about the Ottoman Empire. I don't know. There's any infinite number of things we could be doing other than talking about wikis and the Final Fantasy series. But instead, we are actually doing as advertised and talking about wikis and the Final Fantasy series. So, my name is BlueHighwind, and I do this thing for some reason. And joining me tonight are these two people who I guess I'll introduce. We have 8-Bit. Say hello, 8-Bit.
Oh, it's 8-Bit. I'm the resident boomer, and I'm guest starring here. I also do Final Fantasy. No, yes, I do Final Fantasy, but also fantasy football. That makes two of us. So this podcast might actually be about fantasy football. But yes. I assure you, it is technically Final Fantasy at heart. Yeah. And Catuse, who I don't think you do Final Fantasy.
No,
fantasy football, right?
I don't know anything about fantasy football. Maybe you can teach me.
We do not have time. Just know that it is all luck, and it is a masochistic exercise meant to ruin your life.
Just like being a Square Enix fan. I see.
Yes. Right now, it is... it's September 25th. We're recording a bit early this month because I do have busy plans on the last weekend. But right now, everybody root against the Chargers, please. For fantasy reasons.
Oh, no, I like their logo, so I can't do that. Sorry.
No, I like their logo, too. They're a very cool team. They have a hot, good new quarterback. They're the team I wish that the Broncos were, in general.
Is that the team that's, owned by the Spanos family?
They are owned by Dean Spanos. It's horrible.
See, so my hometown is almost entirely owned by Spanos, and everything is named after Spanos. They wanted to give my high school a ton of money to let them engrave the name Spanos in the bottom of the swimming pool, and the high school wouldn't let them.
Yeah, well, good thing, because your high school and the city of San Diego have both told Dean Spanos to go fuck himself, which is a very important thing. The official position of the Final Fantasy Wiki and Dean Spanos is go fuck yourself. You billionaire, awful person. Anyway, have you heard about this thing called Final Fantasy? It's what the kids are into these days.
No, I haven't heard of it. I only know about NFTs.
No, the kids are not into NFTs at all. The NFT market, I think, is crashing again. It crashed and then it recrashed, and it might crash a third time. There's an endless race to the bottom. Though I guess in one positive note for the general crypto market, they are making 4090s, which as far as I can tell, there's no gaming reason why you would need a 4090 versus a 3090 or even a 3070, because the high definition, super advanced next gen games just aren't there. I think you're fine even if you're a hardcore computer gamer with older tech for your GPU. So I can only imagine the 4090 is for crypto freaks.
Maybe it's for people who really want to touch high resolution grass while they're playing Ghost of Tsushima or something. Or that grass is very high def.
Or it could be VR people, I guess.
VR people.
Yeah, poor VR people. They do exist. We don't really talk about them here because there was one VR Final Fantasy game that nobody ever played. And maybe, I don't know, maybe, do they use GPUs, in actual game development? I guess you would need, a super hardcore computer for that, so maybe you'd need a 4090 if you're actually doing work, rendering stuff. You got your AIs doing things. I don't know anything about what I'm talking about. I should just stop.
It might be...
Actually irrelevant. Oh, go ahead, Kat.
No, go for it.
It might be useful to have a 4090 if you use MATLAB a lot. Since I'm just totally spitballing here, but MATLAB is the study of inverting matrices. Graphics is the study of inverting matrices. Buy a 4090, buy MATLAB. Actually, don't buy MATLAB. MATLAB sucks. Why are we even talking about this?
Well, I'm just imagining what it could possibly be for, because it is $1,600 for this thing, MSRP, which means secondhand or when you're actually buying it from a website, or God help you if you can find it in a store, it's going to be like $2,000. So, like, it just seemed ridiculously absurd for this thing to exist at all to me. And, well, Final Fantasy 16 isn't even coming out on PC originally, so I guess we don't need to worry about it. Just buy a PlayStation 5.
What? It's not?
No, it's not.
Either you wait a year or you buy a PS5. And you can't really buy PS5s right now still. Oh.
I think you still can. It takes some work, but I think it is possible to do. I bought a PlayStation 5 last year. I haven't used it all year. I played 2 games on my PlayStation 5 in the year 2022. And those games were Cyberpunk 2077 and Stray. And that's it. I've not touched it other than that. So do you want to do news?
Yeah, let's talk news. Not that the news this month is... let's just talk news.
You know what? There was slightly more news than there is on an average month, I guess. Because it was the Tokyo Game Show this month, though not exactly the biggest launch. Like, Square Enix didn't really bring much to that, but they did bring other things to other places. So anyway, one note is that on September 8th, Final Fantasy VII officially turned 25, which I think means it is old enough now to get a hotel room or rent a car. So congratulations to Final Fantasy VII.
26. One more year of Final Fantasy VII. Then you can rent.
In one more year, it will have to get off of its parents' insurance in the United States and get its own insurance.
Will it have released part 2, though, of itself?
No.
Of the remake by then? No? Okay.
It will
not.
not.
What are we expecting? 2027 or something?
I think they said winter 2023, so...
so 2025.
2024, roughly, would be the estimate. Next thing in news is that... do you remember that game called Final Fantasy Origins Stranger of Paradise? Did either one of you play that?
I did not play it, but I watched a lot of videos of it.
I know the memes and the videos, yes.
Okay. Well, speaking of memes, they have now introduced a certain recurring character in the series named Gilgamesh. He's going to be in the next DLC, which I forgot to check when that actually comes out. Tell me your favorite Gilgamesh story while I look that up. Unless you don't have one. It launches in October 26th. So if you want to see Jack Chaos fight Gilgamesh, this is now something that can be in your life if you're willing to buy the season pass. Which I think there's only 2 DLCs in that, so that's basically the end of that story.
Isn't Jack Chaos too edgy and sad to have a character like Gilgamesh in his game?
No, because Gilgamesh visited Squall, and nobody's edgier and sadder than Squall is.
Ah, I see. Touche.
His name's technically Jack Garland, but I think I'm just gonna call him Jack Chaos from now on.
Also, like, Squall is not funny. Squall is just emo. Jack and Gilgamesh are both funny characters because Jack says, "I'm here to kill Chaos," and Gilgamesh says, "I'm looking for the Excalibur," and Squall says, "I'm sad and I need to get laid."
No, he says, "Please do not touch me. I am not emotionally ready to be laid. Please, teacher."
Oh yeah, he says that a lot too. Yes.
Yes, he does. There's multiple times in that game when there are women basically throwing themselves at him, and Squall almost completely Shinji pills himself and just can't seal that deal. And it is sad and awkward to watch. But that's high school, so I guess it's extremely accurate. There's nothing like growing older and realizing that girls in high school were actually into you, and you just did not get those signals at all. And you're like, oh my god, what was I doing? Why was I like that? Anyway, I think we are going down yet another rabbit hole, and none of you want to follow me down that way. So, on September 1st, Square Enix has trademarked a new engine called the Radic Engine. This was originally made public back on September 8th. Now, this is going to be their new in-house engine. I'm not entirely clear if this is going to be... I'm not entirely sure what it's actually for. Neither did the report. But if you recall Square Enix's previous engines, such as the White Engine or, you know, Luminous Engine, those were not very... Yeah, those were not very happy stories. For the last few years, Square Enix has basically been using Unreal, and it's gone particularly extremely well. Luminous Engine has only made Final Fantasy 15 and the upcoming Forspoken, and neither one of those games' development seems to have been completely smooth. But Square Enix hasn't actually said what the Radic Engine is. Or it might be RDECK. No. It's RADEC. They trademarked it in Japan. There's no news about what this thing actually is.
So on the one hand, this is kind of cool because it might mean we get Agni's Philosophy 2.
Please no.
But we never got the first Agni's Philosophy. Hello.
No.
No, they make an engine. They make an Agni's Philosophy trailer. They don't make Agni's Philosophy.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, yeah, Square Enix does not have a good history with engines. You know, Final Fantasy 14 was kind of ruined by Crystal Tools. Luminous made one game, basically, Final Fantasy 15. Why does Square Enix keep making engines?
I figure, like, we don't know what this thing actually is for, so it could be for anything, effectively. Like, we don't know if this is...
So they decided to make engines.
It could just be, like, some kind of physics, like, you know, supplemental thing to Unreal, which I think is just what they're going to use from now on. That just seems like industry standard. It would be easier for everybody if they used it. But, you know, we don't know what Final Fantasy 16 actually is running on. I always assumed it was Unreal, but I don't think that's ever been made official. And I'm not sure if Kingdom Hearts 4 was announced to be on Unreal. So, for all we know, this could be Final Fantasy 16's engine, though I feel like if they're... No, they probably would have announced it years ahead of time, because that game's been in development since 2015. So, I don't know what this thing is, and for all I know, this is the last time we ever mentioned Radic Engine. What if it's a game? All it is a trademark.
That would be kind of cool. You know, there's in Final Fantasy 14, Titan turns into a Tonka truck, so he is an engine. Maybe this is the new game where all the Eidolons turn into like engines or something. That would be pretty cool.
Final Fantasy 13, you can have your Shiva sisters interlock their legs, and then you drive them around, and that's your Radic Engine. So, I have some bad news. I have terrible news, in fact. Just crushingly miserable, awful news. I don't know how we're going to keep going. I need you two to brace yourselves, alright? Just imagine the worst thing I could possibly tell either one of you. Alright, are you ready? You emotionally ready?
Go ahead.
I've had a long year, but go on.
Okay, this news was announced on September 13th. It's from hanginggarden.babylonsfall.com, and it is a notice regarding the termination of the Babylon's Fall service.
No!
Yep.
What the fuck?
I know. Greetings, Sentinel Force. Thank you very much for playing Babylon's Fall. With the desire of delivering an exhilarating online action RPG set in an elaborate high fantasy world, we launched the game's official service on Thursday, March 2nd, 2022. And have continued to undertake additional development and operations. However, it is with deep regret to inform you that we will be terminating the game's service on February 27th, 2023. And this goes on to mention that they're going to keep doing Season 2, and they're going to launch Season 3, which is now labeled the final season. And there's some notice that, effectively, I think you can't even buy this game anymore.
They removed all the in-game currency.
Yeah.
How do you go on Steam and try to buy this game? What the heck?
I think you cannot. Sales of the digital version as well as physical version on retailer sites will draw to a close. That happened on the 13th. So, you can buy a disc version of this game. You cannot buy a physical copy. I mean, you cannot buy a digital copy anywhere anymore. So, unless you... Unfortunately, you've missed your shot unless you find a disc of this thing, which I imagine is not going to be all that difficult. And you will have another 5 months or so to keep playing it.
Let's see.
Sweet prince.
Oh, yeah, you can get Babylon's Fall. It looks like you can get it for like $5 on eBay.
Yeah, that's money well spent. If you have the
I'm
curiosity.
I'm not gonna buy that.
No.
But actually, no. Maybe this is going to be our podcast episode that month. Playing Babylon's Fall.
I'm not playing Babylon's Fall for any reason.
Okay.
I've already said this on the podcast multiple times, but Babylon's Fall is one of the most disappointing game releases for me in a very long time. They announced that game.
They took it off Steam.
They announced that game about 4 years ago at I think it wasn't TGS. I think it was E3. They did not say what the game was, other than it's Square Enix, it's Platinum Games, they're coming together, they have this thing called Babylon's Fall. And I'm like, hell yeah, because Nier Automata. And then we find out last year that it's a games as a service thing, and it looks significantly fucking worse than the previous trailers are. And then the game came out, and it was a, frankly, unmitigated disaster, the likes of which you rarely see in video games. Like, I think the Steam reports were, at some point, there were 1 players. And that was like a month after it came out. There were 0 players on multiple days. That's like, really depressing. I want you to imagine that you're a game dev. And you put 5 years of your life to make this big thing that you're hoping lots of people will love. It's effectively like having a giant party. And you're inviting tons and tons of people. And you want it to be this big thing... And then nobody comes, and you're left all alone. It's just depressing. So
it's a stupendous failure of game design and marketing. It's just what are these closing remarks?
Oh, I'll read them for you.
Oh my god.
They are very sad. I'll just go through the last 2 sentences here. Despite all of your support, we are truly sad and sorry to say that we will be unable to continue with the game's service. We hope you continue to enjoy playing Babylon's Fall, all caps, until the service ends. And it's like messages of like, thank you so much for all the official support and whatever, and the outpouring of whatever. And I'm like,
I'm curious.
Was there actually an outpouring of enthusiastic messages? Like, was there? Did they actually? I hope they did. I want them to have gotten the emotional closure that they got, because certainly this was a financial disaster for both of these studios. And you know, I hope everyone lands on their feet and that Platinum does extremely well with Bayonetta 3, which is the game they should be making. They should not be making things like Babylon's Fall.
Oh, for every Nier game, there has to be a Babylon's Fall, right? You can't all be winners.
No, not necessarily. There can be only winners if you do really well. Okay. So I think that's all we have to say about Babylon's Fall. That may be the last time. Well, I'll bring it up when the game finally closes. Actually, that reminds me. What was the other game that's shutting down really quickly? I think it's ending this month.
Is it one of their other mobile games?
It is another mobile game. Record Keeper.
Is the failure of this game going to lead Square to, I don't know, perhaps learn from some of their investment strategies? The answer is no.
No,
we're going to talk more about that later, and the answer is going to very much be no.
Yes,
Okay.
It's going to be no. Final Fantasy Record Keeper is shutting down on the 29th, which is probably roughly the day this podcast will go up. So it will no longer be purchasable, I think, outside of Japan. I think it will live on beyond that. So get your Record Keeper in now. I deliberately chose not to play that video game, and I'm good for it. No Record Keeper news? No Record Keeper thoughts?
I mean,
I don't know who that is.
Don't worry.
It's actually kind of surprising that they're shutting it down, because it seems like gacha game, it has to be free money, right? But
not necessarily. There's a ton of upkeep for it. You got to run servers and things and hire people. There has to be a whole support staff for the thing. It's not just something that could run on its own. So, are you ready for the actually positive news?
There's
Yeah.
News.
Yeah,
we're so starved for good news.
And yeah, no, like we'll have some very upsetting news in a moment, but I want to go through the good news. So on the 13th, again, actually same day as Babylon's Fall, Nintendo had a very big direct for their upcoming winter games, which of course included the new Zelda game, which is very important, and some other things, but also the Final Fantasy series had a bunch of stuff. So Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion, that is an official release date. That's December 13th. So we have a topic for that month. It's going to be Crisis Core. Another game that was announced is Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line, which is a game I'm personally very excited for. That's coming out on February 16th, and it looks incredible. It looks like they've gathered all the Theater Rhythm tracks into one big game, and they have like 30 different Square Enix games that you can go play rhythm games with. So there's like Xenogears in this, there's Nier Automata, there's Live Alive. So, I mean, you want to play Song of the Ancients or Megalomania with cute little chibi Final Fantasy characters, here you go. This is finally the package for you. I think it's must purchase.
My only gripe with this is that it's $50. Like, I don't know if I like. It looks great. This is hype, but it's also like, do I want to spend $50 on a rhythm game?
Well, do you want to pay $50 plus maybe another $50 in getting all of the DLC?
Now, if you put it like that, I'm sold.
Well, now I think I actually am gonna. Oh my god! Dropped my phone. I dropped my phone completely. I caught it. I caught it and bobbled it twice, and then I caught it. All right. Sorry about that. I'll cut that out. What were we saying? Oh yeah, $50. So I'm gonna buy that DLC. I'm gonna buy all of it. I'll pay $200 to have the complete collection. I think it is just something useful to have to like take over my life completely. Did either one of you play the Kingdom Hearts rhythm game that came out a couple years ago?
No, I wanted to, but then same thing. It was like, what was it, like $65 or something like that? And I was like, do I want to spend that much money for a rhythm game? Not really. I'm
going to tell you, that game was worth every penny. That was so much fun. It took over my life completely for about 2 weeks.
$60 without inserting money into it, gacha-wise.
Well, that game actually did not come with DLC, or if it did, I didn't need any, because it already had, like, basically every song you could want from Kingdom Hearts, and Let It Go from Frozen. 8-Bit, I know you're a huge Frozen fan, right?
I lived in Hawaii, and I hate weather below 65 degrees, so... No, the kids show. No, not the kids show. The kids
I don't know why you were bringing up Hawaii with Frozen. It's not Lilo and Stitch.
Frozen is inferior to Lilo and Stitch.
That is true. Lilo and Stitch might be the single best Disney movie they've ever made.
Incredible.
It is incredible.
Bless.
Oh my god, I watch like the ending of that movie sometimes where Stitch goes up and he's like, "This is my family. I found it all on my own. It's broken and good," and I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna cry.
Yes.
It's incredible.
Stitch, yes, teaches important life lessons.
Can Stitch say goodbye?
Stitch say goodbye.
Oh my god, I can't do that voice at all. I'm not even gonna try.
Oh.
That's not bad. My mouth does not turn inside out like you'd need to in order to do a Stitch voice.
I can do Stitch and Kirby, and that's all.
Okay. There's other stuff that was announced. The game Harvestella is coming out soon. The game Dealfield Chronicles came out this week, and I have not gotten around to it because I am hopelessly behind on playing video games, and I don't know what's going on with my life. Various Daylife, that fucking awful, incredibly boring Apple game. The game that came out on Apple Arcade that kind of looked like Bravely Default, that's also getting ported to Switch. I do not play that. That game is stunningly boring. The entire Front Mission series, or at least the first 3, they're going to get ports. And Octopath Traveler 2 is happening.
So, of those, I want to remark that even just like on a... I want to complain about various day life because it's just kind of absurd, right? Like, the gameplay loop is like doing work. I don't want to do work. I already do work every day. I don't want to go around like being a secretary or whatever. Why? Why, Square Enix? Why are you putting this out?
I honestly, I don't know why that game... Well, I understand why that game was made. It's probably like Apple's like, hello, Square Enix, can you please make a video game for our upcoming service? And then Square Enix puts like the C Squad on it, and they crap something out, which at least looked okay, but it also was like just the most incredibly boring gacha game mechanics. There was nothing to it. There's nothing to say about it. What did either one of you think about Octopath Traveler?
So I didn't play Octopath Traveler. I feel like I mainly know it through like the memes of the character saying "princess, princess, princess, princess." Am I mixing this up with something else?
I have played Octopath Traveler, and the story parts are completely gone. Like, there's nothing. I don't remember anything about the plot whatsoever, except there was a rather tasteless scene set in like brothels with prostitutes, which I thought was not necessary for the game, but otherwise like gone. I don't remember any of the characters' names.
And that was kind of the impression that I got from it. It felt like they were like just they wanted to do a nostalgia JRPG and they didn't want to put a ton of effort into it. But I shouldn't say that because I haven't played it. I just know it through the memes.
Well, I would say they put a ton of effort into it. Like, the production is immaculate, and it did kind of set, like, a new standard for what 2D games can look like with high graphics and that sort of thing. That style has become very popular. It's just, like, the story is not there whatsoever. As a matter of fact, if you want a good version of Octopath Traveler, just play Live Alive. Just straight up. Everything that Octopath Traveler is doing plot-wise in terms of different characters, Live Alive is doing better, and the characters are more likable, and there's just more memorable stuff in it. It's an incredible game.
Blue, give me a 30-second synopsis of Live Alive, because I feel this is like the 10th time I have heard of this game. Like, at first I didn't even realize it was a game. I thought it was like, I don't know, a live show or something. So why? What is Live?
All right, I can't really do it in 30 seconds, but I can tell you that it is a game that Square Enix made for the Super Nintendo, did not come out of Japan. And it was like, let's go and make 8 really short JRPGs, and we'll just go as wild as we can with the style. So we're going to have one game that's cavemen people, and they're going to talk in nothing but pictograms. We're going to have another game with a giant robot. We're going to have a game that's a stealth game. So it's basically like Metal Gear Solid, but set during the Meiji Restoration. There's a horror game element to it. There's a cowboy level. All of them feel wildly distinct. They're doing very interesting things with the JRPG formula, and it just feels like you have an idea, we'll make an entire mini game around it. And then there's a really cool final boss. It is my favorite game of this year. The port of it.
Multiple games and one. Okay, I see.
Yeah,
you play. Like, why did they make it so bonkers? Was it like Final Fantasy 1 and thought they were going out of business like Babylon's Fall and just decided to go ham?
No, it's just like during the Super Nintendo era, Square Enix was just doing anything they could want. Like, there was so much palette and potential with the hardware they had. They were realizing at some point, like, man, we could do all kinds of games. I'm calling them Square Enix, but it was Square at the time. NX was uninvolved. But yeah, no, like, you look at like what Final Fantasy VI was doing with the Opera House and just the level of production there, and then you look at Chrono Trigger and how many different stories are happening with that too. They really were just bored of medieval JRPGs, I think, at some point, and we're just like, let's do everything with this.
Yeah, I guess that was like the high point of Square. I mean, okay, I shouldn't. That makes it sound like they're like on their decline, which maybe they are. But yeah, I guess every
that in like the PlayStation era, yeah, or like the high points.
Yeah, Square, like Super Nintendo, PlayStation. Everyone makes fun of Final Fantasy VIII, but everything they were putting out had lots of new ideas, and they were not afraid to experiment with. And yeah.
It's incredible how much are in games like Final Fantasy VIII and 7 and 9. Like, you look back at those games, it's like, wow, there's so much in those things And like, yeah, that kind of feels like the Live Alive thing, where every single event kind of feels like somebody had an idea. So it's like, all right, let's go to space in this one. Fuck it. Yeah, let's do it. All right, we're going to have aliens here. And Squall's going to go fight that. Then let's go travel through time and all kinds of just nonsense. It's just wonderful how much they were able to do with the technology. I think it's just that the technology was expansive enough that they could do all kinds of things, and also relatively easy enough that it was quick to produce, so you can make these games in like 1 or 2 years, versus now where it takes like 7 years. So the level of imagination is necessarily hampered by just the amount of polish these things need to have.
And maybe this is what Square needs. Square needs to make like a trashy, unpolished game that just has all the ideas in it.
I think that's what the Tokyo RPG Factory was supposed to be. But then it just turned out to be like those guys were just so nostalgia like pilled that they couldn't come up with anything that Square Enix hadn't done already. So, you know, you end up with games like, what was that? I Am Setsuna. That's just like, all right, we're going to do Chrono Trigger again, but really not interesting. You kind of got to go to the indie scene at a certain point. Like, this company got too big, and that's fine, but you kind of lost the kind of nimbleness and endless possibility that the older games had.
There's definitely a risk-adverse, probably, groupthink at Square. I mean, plus the games take forever to develop. So yeah, that's a good point about what an indie developer can potentially offer. Not saying that Square can still throw some weird stuff out there, but it'll probably still take 4 years and be a disappointment like that. What was that random game?
Final Fantasy 15?
Yikes.
Yeah, no, that did sell ridiculous amounts, so I can't really call it a disappointment. But what was it? Eastward is the kind of game I'm thinking of, where it's a top-down RPG style game. There's a ton of stuff that happens. The story is bonkers and extremely dark and goes to all kinds of places. And that game also took a very long time, I believe, even though it is indie, and Chinese indie, weirdly enough. But highly recommend that thing. Anyway, we should probably move on to the bad news, right?
Right.
Wait, I thought we were only getting good news now.
No. Yeah, so... Alright, let's start with... Square Enix's Transcript on September 14th was that the investor meeting with the president, he was talking about how... Oh wait, this actually isn't it. Sorry, I'm reading the wrong news. I'll go over this news anyway. Steven Totilo reported this, that Square Enix is trying to have smaller stakes in games, but they're looking for allocating capital to studios that gives us greater flexibility. This is like pure business speak. I can't really read any of this. It's kind of a load of nothing to me. But however, the quote is here: "In terms of our progress on investigating in the new domain of blockchain, we are steadily advancing with content development efforts and a variety of other initiatives. So we hope that you will look forward to our forthcoming announcements." By the way, you could fight this guy in Nier Automata, so maybe you want to do that now. The other news is that Square Enix is having a blockchain partnership with a company called Oasis. Now, Catuse, you were looking into this further. Can you tell us more about Oasis, spelled with a Y?
Yeah, Oasis spelled with a Y. So I can say one good thing about it to give them some benefit of the doubt, and then I will say probably, well, not even necessarily negative things, just mediocre things. Yeah, so Oasis is coming up with an all-new blockchain that is proof of stake, and they claim, and this, I think this is at least a somewhat reasonable claim, is that this will use like orders of magnitude less electricity than like the Bitcoin blockchain will. That said, there don't really seem to be a lot of explanations as to what this Oasis blockchain is going to be used for by Square Enix. I read like a handful of articles that are essentially just a bunch of business speak. They do say that they are going to make these games to have high transaction speed and no and fuel efficient. That they won't have gas fees. So there is a little bit of benefit of the doubt that you could give them. But there is genuine, like, I read several articles, and I just extracted absolutely no information about what sort of games they're going to put on there. If this are these like VR games, are they going to make more of those like mediocre NFT collectibles that they put out this summer? There's just this. It's the same thing you're saying. There's so much business speak that you can't actually discern what they're planning to do. The only like thing you could discern is they are going to make a hub for AAA quality games with play-to-earn integration.
Ugh.
That last part, though. Why would you do? Why
we
would
don't
you do
like.
that?
Nobody likes the sound of that. Nobody.
They just say a ton of business. They say one vaguely good thing, which is they're going to use less electricity than Bitcoin. If you believe them, maybe you believe them, maybe you don't. I think it's at least plausible. They say a bunch of useless business speak, and then they say everyone's favorite words, play to earn. When has anyone ever enjoyed play to earn games? Or like,
well, Catuse, I want you to put yourself in the position. Let's say you're somebody with a lot of money and no common sense, and you don't play video games, but you love the idea of people getting jobs for you while they think they're playing games. Doesn't that sound great? You're selling them a product that's also a job that earns you money. Never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind the fact that, you know, it requires the job to be fun and people actually wanting to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, so the only thing like this that like has like vaguely worked, right, is Super Mario Maker. And the reason is that making levels on Super Mario Maker is fun.
Yeah. But that's not in any way.
But that's not. Yeah, it has nothing to do with this blockchain stuff.
No.
And they do not really have any explanation about how they're gonna use the blockchain to make Super Mario Maker. There's nothing like that. It's just there's this black box where they put a blockchain. It does something. Pay to earn. Profit for the suits at Square Enix, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
but I do. Yeah.
No, go on.
I don't have a lot of faith in this also because it seems like this company Oasis is
yeah, who are they?
It's this Singaporean and Japanese company. I think their biggest thing in the news is they managed to raise 20 million by selling some kind of crypto tokens earlier this year. So maybe we're just overhyping nothing. This does not really seem like a very big company.
Yeah, it doesn't.
But Square Enix is talking about it as though these guys are like the next big thing in gaming. But I feel like we're kind of like hyping up nothing.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's reason to be alarmed because, you know, I think generally like where Square Enix is as a company and the kinds of games they make. Like, regardless of what you feel about their triple a million A products, they usually are making 1 or even 3 legitimately really good games a year, which is better than many other manufacturers or producers or publishers, whatever the hell word I'm trying to say, is better than all of them do. Like, EA does not make 3 games a year that I want to play. Square Enix does. There's only like 2 companies that do that, Square Enix and Nintendo. So I want them to not change. I have a vested interest in them not getting involved in this kind of shit. But, on the other hand, this also feels like Square Enix's general strategy is they'll put a ton of eggs in a lot of baskets. So, like, Babylon's Dogma, what the hell? Babylon's Fall. Sorry, Dragon's Dogma fans. You do not deserve to be confused with Babylon's Fall. Babylon's Fall, like, that's a massive disaster for Square Enix, but also, like, it didn't cost them that much. It's not going to break the bank for them. And if it had hit, they would have made a ton of money. But it didn't, so it's fine. Or they'll invest in smaller things like The Quiet Man or whatever the hell. Which, yeah, those games fail and it goes bad and it's embarrassing for everybody, but, you know, that's it. We have eggs in tons of baskets. And it's like, in this thing, alright, I'll build a team to go do this blockchain stuff and it looks good for the investor class. And if it explodes and makes us trillions of dollars, that's fine. And if in 4 years I have to go and fire all these people, well, that's too bad, but whatever. It was worth a shot.
Yeah, that is a good point. Is that I mean, I really do not see this taking off, and maybe they're just making a long shot investment to keep the investors happy, and it's probably just gonna flop.
I mean, the other thing is, like, I've been saying this multiple times, but, like, we're on the verge of a major global recession if we're not in it already. So it kind of feels like major, huge shakeups are just not going to be happening in the cards. Like, I don't think Sony's going to buy Square Enix with the way the financial winds are blowing.
Square Enix is, like, to your point, too big to fail, though. I mean, I agree that somewhere in all the separate divisions and teams, you will have at least, a few games that you'll want to play, like Final Fantasy 16 eventually.
Yes. And? Or are you done, 8-Bit? Sorry.
Oh, no, shit, I have to name two more. Final Fantasy 14 and the PC port of Final Fantasy Tactics, yes.
Which has not been announced yet, right?
It will be, if I haven't.
Just use the secret. If you continue to manufacture it in your mind, you deiffact Final Fantasy Tactics, and it will become true.
That is a sick word. I'm going to use that.
Deifacted?
Yeah.
Did you not play Final Fantasy 12?
You know what I was just gonna say? I was gonna say that sounds like a word that belongs in Final Fantasy 12.
Yeah,
because it is from Final Fantasy 12.
It is, yeah. Deifacted Nephesite.
There we go. Is that, did Bergen say that?
Lots of people said the words deifacted game.
The plot of Final Fantasy 12 is actually that nobody knows that the word manufactured is pronounced manufactured.
No.
They think it's pronounced manufacted.
No. It's like, it's created by the gods.
So there's manufacted and deifacted.
Deifacted. So if a god makes it, it's deifacted. So, like, manna from the Bible, that's deifacted food. And Jesus, he is a deifacted person. And also a deity himself. Yeah.
Jesus is a deifacted person.
And so is Adam and Eve. And everyone, I guess. All things are deifacted. Which makes the word completely useless when you get right down to it in that point. So, were we still on blockchain, or were we moving on to some other shit?
I have nothing else to say about blockchain. Maybe you guys have more thoughts.
No, I have nothing to say other than...
I have no thoughts on blockchain.
Yeah, I mean, we will soon be launching BlueHighwind coin, and I'm expecting to make $1 trillion overnight. So please, give me all of your money. There's nowhere to go but up. More losses due to indecision versus poor decisions, remember that. And some other quotes from various business school shit. I don't know, you know. Anyway, we have some news on Final Fantasy 16. Are you excited? Are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah, no news until next month.
Fuck.
What the fuck?
Yeah, next trailer likely out in October.
Damn it.
Yep.
So
and
it could be like October 1st, maybe.
Could be. I don't think it's going to be. I would bet late October, considering they're constantly... It feels like they're constantly, like, just barely making their own internal deadlines on that game. So that thing gets delayed into 2024. I won't be surprised, and also will not be disappointed. Oh, one final thing is the game Forspoken has... last month went out to a lot of various media websites. And there were some hand-on impressions, and, you know, it's mixed. I don't know how good that game's going to finally be. Still interesting, but doesn't seem like it might 100% land what it wants to be. I would love that game to be good, but, you know. I just dropped my phone again and caught it that time.
Good job.
Yes. Okay.
What's the planned release date of Forspoken?
I'm sorry, what?
What is the planned release date of Forspoken?
Forspoken was, I think, March. I'm going to double check.
Okay.
Forspoken release date. Release date. No, that's not right. January 24th? No.
Okay.
No, that can't be right. Is that right? Wait, it's January? No, it is not January. It can't be January. January 24th. Yeah, it's January 24th. It's going to be a Capricorn this game, I think. Yeah. Right? What's the Capricorn dates? Why is this Zodiac website not telling me what it is?
December 21st to January 20th.
Shit! It's going to be an Aquarius. Fuck it. Pile of garbage. The game's going to be trash now.
I am sorry, all of you listening who are very devout astrology followers. I regret to inform you that we do not believe in that here. Well, unless you are playing a Final Fantasy Evolution game, then we do.
Yeah, unless you're playing Final Fantasy Tactics, in which case it actually is a game mechanic.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Oh, by the way, what's your star sign, 8-bit?
I am a double ram. I am a star sign ram, and I am a Chinese ram, which means that I'm relentlessly stubborn and have no brain available to consider any other alternatives besides the ones that I've illogically come to.
Okay, so that means you're a Sagittarius?
Sure, that.
Okay. I think Sagittarius is the ram one, right? Alright, I'll just read Sagittarius then.
Okay.
You may be ready for some major career changes, Sagittarius. You could be fed up with the stress and long hours of the corporate environment. Surely, in this age of technology, there's a way to spend more time at home without sacrificing the quality of your work. Think about it for a few days. If you propose a feasible alternative to your boss, the positive response may surprise you. What the hell?
What the fuck?
That was so weird. That's the weirdest horoscope I've ever read. It's like legitimately like fucking tell your boss you want to work from home. Like it is telling you directly advice. Normally it's like bullshit like the stars say that your love line is very fertile today, so wear protection or something like that, you know? No, even then that's not it. It's like, you know, be ready for that certain someone, like that kind of thing, or work's gonna be really hard. Weird. What a weird.
I'm a pharmacist. I can't deal drugs from home. Wait.
Yeah.
I could. I mean, I could deal drugs. Anyway.
My horoscope, which I'm a Capricorn, is telling me be as true to yourself as possible.
That's not very helpful. What's the
now that's a real horoscope right there. Like
it's
words, vague as hell. Give me that.
Yeah, it's saying I'm sensitive to other people's deepest emotions. So, Catuse, what are you feeling right now?
Right now I'm feeling sleepy because I woke up right before recording this.
You feel sleepy, huh? I sense sleep in you. See, I'm intuitive. Yep.
What is the Gemini horoscope?
What's Gemini?
Am I going to turn into a ninja this month or something?
You could turn into a ninja this month. No. This could be a banner day, Gemini. Your spiritual and career goals come together so both are enhanced and neither is compromised. It's a neat trick. You can expect the opportunity to practice what you preach to come through with a friend or colleague. Don't discount any ideas presented to you, as one will contain the key to meshing two of your most important facts of your life. I'm sorry, two important parts of your life.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I have no idea. Yeah. I don't know why I read it like Sonic the Hedgehog either, but... You know. So, I think we're done with the news, right?
Yeah, so we went on from the news to horoscopes. I think that's going to be a section
horoscopes. Yeah, it's an off month. Honestly, I don't know what we're going to do next month. We'll have to figure something out. So, you might have noticed in Square Enix's many releases lately that they have been porting a lot of games from their back catalog to kind of fill up, you know, to get lots of things in there. So we have Tactics Ogre, we have Live Alive, we had Nier last year, we had Final Fantasy 1 through 6. Lots and lots of games getting ported. So to wrap ourselves up here, I mean, are there games from Square Enix's past that you would like to see ported to modern stuff that is currently rather difficult to get? And I'm going to start. I'm going to start alphabetically, and 8 starts with 8. So 8-bit, you're going first.
Shit. Okay. Well, yes, the obvious answer is Final Fantasy Tactics. You know, it should be Final Fantasy Tactics because there are plenty of companies trying to make analogs of Tactics, like the Diofield Chronicles, which I heard is a complete TTRPG disappointment in that it's not a TTRPG.
No, I don't think it was ever announced to be that. But they did have Triangle Strategy, which is also their Final Fantasy Tactics thing.
And I failed to unlock any other characters beyond the initial 8 or so because they did not convince me in that way. So, Square, you know what to do. Come on, let me give you my money.
Is that all you have to say on the subject?
I mean, I just don't know why they stopped. They went into Tactics Advance, which, being my first Final Fantasy game, has, you know, a good amount of nostalgia associated with it, but it's not Final Fantasy Tactics. It has that good, gritty 90s vibe of being a difficult game. I mean, well, did it spawn Ivalice or did Vagrant Story precede it?
Well, Ivalice starts with Final Fantasy Tactics. I think that's the first time the word ever got used. And then it gets referenced in Vagrant Story and then becomes a proper series by the time Advance comes out in Final Fantasy 12.
But is it a series, though? I mean,
yes.
I like TA and TA2, but...
8-bit, they officially branded it Ivalice Alliance, and they released, like, 4 games.
And then they stopped. I
played
Resident Wings, okay? I've experienced the full depths of depravity that the Ivalice Alliance had to offer.
Depravity is the right
But did you play
word.
Final Fantasy Tactics S?
S?
No.
Who? Who is she?
You don't want to know. You don't want to meet her.
Let me show you this. Let me show you this piece of garbage.
Oh no!
It's a mobile.
I don't want 8-bit's heart to be broken on their first episode. I think
it's a mobile app where I think the main selling point is that you could play as Agrius, but it's not Final Fantasy Tactics. It's a mobile app. It's like a gacha game, and it has Agrius in it.
Why would you make Final Fantasy Tactics into a gacha game? Why the fuck? Okay.
That's not even the most horrifying part of that. Show him the gameplay, Catuse. Catuse shared in discussion a image of Agrius, or Agrius, I'm not sure how you pronounce her. She's cartoon, and she looks very mad, and she's holding a very pointy sword. She's holding it like... She's holding it like the pregnancy meme, like, you know, anime faces where they're holding up pregnancy that it's positive.
Wait, that's exactly what this is. What the fuck? Anyway, so this is the gameplay. As you can see, it's not really Final Fantasy Tactics. There's no like grid or like positioning or anything like that. They just sort of line up, and then the bad guys line up, and then they fight.
It's all the bravest.
The quality of this picture is that there are banga.
Yeah. It's all the bravest, but Final Fantasy Tactics is basically what this thing is.
This is an abomination.
It is.
Delete this.
Unspeakable.
Can I delete this? Do I have mod powers? That's right, I don't, because I don't do anything with mod powers. Hello?
I can delete it for you if you want. I'll make it.
Yeah,
I'll make it go away.
it.
Oh wait, I can't. Catuse, are you a B-Crat?
Powers. However, this thing is very shameful, so I'm going to delete it.
Yeah, Catuse, you're a bureaucrat, right?
Yes.
Bless.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have B-Crat powers, which is maybe why I'm immune to having my messages deleted. But I deleted them.
Can I not delete messages anymore? This is a discussion that needs to be had.
No, it's. I think what happens is that the priority of roles on the server is all fucked up because we keep changing it.
Okay.
And so now I think Scathe is like all powerful. Then I'm like under him. And then nobody else can do anything to my messages, and it's so fucking. We need to fix this, but there's so many other things wrong with this Discord server that we never fixed either. So
yeah, you know what I think it is? I think it's the channel, our secret Discord, podcasting channel. I don't think I can delete messages on there, but I can in like regular channels.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
But the point is that this Discord server is all fucked up, and none of us have the motivation to fix it.
Well, by the way, if you're listening and are not a member of the Discord, come on by. We'll talk about Final Fantasy and stuff, and share kitty pictures and pictures of Pokemon.
Owls.
There are a lot of owls on this server.
There's a lot of owls. And unlike in other times, the owls are what they seem. So,
Anyway,
8-Bit, you have,
violently upset.
yeah,
So
you've
someone
officially
else talk
called
about it.
Final Fantasy Tactics what you wanted to see rebooted. Or remade, I guess. Ported.
Yes.
Okay.
Ported. And not Final Fan. No letters. It's just Final Fantasy Tactics. For the love of God.
Oh, is it the War of the Lions version, the PlayStation Portable one?
It is, but who bought a PlayStation Portable?
I did.
My dude.
I still have
You
it
did?
somewhere. Oh, by the way, big bit of warning. This is something I need to fix too. If you have a PlayStation Portable in your house, make sure to dig that thing out and pull the battery out. Because apparently those batteries explode after like 20 years.
Good job, Sony.
I mean, yeah, I think like it's gonna swell at the very least, and the system will be completely unusable. So I need to go hunt that thing down. It may be only certain models, like maybe the older ones, but definitely go and dig that thing out. If you ever want to play your PlayStation Portable again, figure that thing out. Yeah, that's gross. Anyway, Catuse, what Final Fantasy or Square Enix game do you want to see restored to the modern era?
So I have a vision for the future of Final Fantasy Tactics. No, I don't have a vision. I just sometimes spitball stupid ideas.
Oh, you also are doing Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Final Fantasy Tactics was the best 90s Square game that hasn't been... Well, okay, they did... So Final Fantasy VI, they ported it, but then they made... For the mobile app, they made it look terrible.
Well, 6 is now released.
But then they made
in that,
Pixel
yeah.
Remaster.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, so I can't say any of the really old games because of Pixel Remaster. Anything from like 10 onward, I'm not really motivated to have remade. Though it would be nice if they got good voice actors for Final Fantasy X. So that kind of so if I'm restricting myself to Final Fantasy games, that leaves like Final Fantasy Tactics. But that's okay because Final Fantasy Tactics. So hear me out. This game would be harshly criticized if it was released as a brand new game in 2022, 2023. The first reason is that it's too hard, but that's fine. We're going to keep that the way it is. Actually, maybe make it harder by like nerfing TG Sit or something, so that the end game actually has content. Maybe add some super bosses as well. Give us like all of the most ridiculous, over-the-top, lavish graphics. Yes, I know earlier I was talking about how Square Enix needs to make some crappy, unpolished games where they can just go hog wild with ideas. They already have all the ideas. They need to polish the fuck out of this, make the graphics amazing so you can see these enormous, horrifying battles live on your screen. This is something that you don't really see tactical RPGs have. Tactical RPGs tend to have very low quality
Not low
graphics,
quality, but 2D sprite based.
Sprite based, but like, and they're going to actually put money into the voice acting because this is not going to be triangle strategy. And then for the story, okay. So the other reason why this would be harshly criticized is that this is a game where Ovelia and Alma both kind of come off as like useless damsels in distress, and Rafa definitely is a damsel in distress.
Oh, fuck
However,
Rafa.
we can.
My God, I can't stand those two.
Rafa and Mirage
mechanically, they are so useless in that game that they become unlikable.
They're mechanically useless, and then on top of that, and then on top of that, like you have to do rescue missions with them.
That's what I mean. Yeah, like you can lose levels in that game entirely because of her AI just running. Leroy Jenkins her way right into the enemy fortress and gets killed instantly, and then you lose. There's nothing you can do about it.
We have all of this fancy machine learning bullcrap. Okay, we're gonna build a supercomputer. Okay,
we're gonna put Rafa on the blockchain.
No. You know Einstein at home, right? Or like folding at home. You have like these like distributed computing facilities that use like thousands of personal computers to like compute like gravitational waves and crap.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do that, but for a massively improved version of the Final Fantasy Tactics AI. And we're going to use that to design like the perfect AI. The enemies that you're fighting are all geniuses, and now the game is hard as shit.
This seems like it's going to be very difficult to do. Are you volunteering to go and create the perfect genius level game AI?
No.
Okay. Are you going to make the code that creates the AI that creates the genius level game AI?
No. I'm just spitting out ideas.
Okay.
This
All
is
right.
the Final Fantasy Wiki Podcast, Blue. You're familiar with this. We just spit out ideas for Square. Listening to this podcast will then take and realize.
We know that Square knows that we exist because they stole our Ruby weapon render for use in one of the Final Fantasy VII port like achievement things. We had like a very specific angle on the Ruby weapon render that nobody else had. And then a few years after we put it on the wiki, they put out this Final Fantasy VII Steam version with achievements. And what does the achievement for Ruby weapon have? It's our render of Ruby weapon.
Well, I mean, I guess we don't own any. We have no ownership of the render.
Well, and I'm not saying I'm not
it's
talking
their
about
asset
ownership. I'm just saying, of course, they have ownership of the render.
Uh-huh.
But I'm saying that we're the one who angled it that way.
Yeah.
They know we exist. They listen to our podcast. They take ideas from us, and they're going to invest less money in NFTs because we said that it's a bad investment.
So instead of NFTs, AI on your computer to run.
I'm trying to right. Like this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to say how you can make something like forget blockchain. Distributed computing is where it's at, and you're going to design the ultimate Final Fantasy Tactics experience. Okay, so that's how the gameplay is going to work, and that's going to fix Rafa, and it's going to fix the archer on top is now going to be invincible.
No, what?
Basically.
Why would you do that? All right, for
I mean,
people, I should explain for people who have not played Final Fantasy Tactics. The third level of that game is called the Trade City of Dorder, and there's 2 hills in that game, in that level. The enemy controls both of the hills. You're at the bottom, and the most infamous part of that thing is that there is an archer to your left on the tallest hill who is virtually unreachable, and I believe has ended more campaigns of that game than any other single enemy in any other Final Fantasy game. That one archer.
Latin music plays when you talk to that archer.
Yes.
Okay, and now for story. So I mentioned, of like a lot of the female characters are just like damsel in distress. Okay. So in War of the Lions, they sort of try to address this by having like a few like weird like spin-off levels where you play as Delita and Ophelia.
Uh-huh.
I think this should be like a significant part of the story is like Delita and Ophelia's wacky adventures from Ophelia's point of view. And there should be like Fire Emblem-esque dating mechanics, except that this is Final Fantasy Tactics. And the relationship fucking sucks.
Wait. When you say dating mechanics, how gay are we doing here? Because Final Fantasy Tactics is a very gay video game. I don't think people know this yet. But
this is the other thing that they need to fix is that they need to make this front and center. Ramza and Delita is the canon couple, not Delita and Ophelia.
I mean,
it was always the canon couple.
Yeah, it is. But like, you want it to end with Ramza and Delita running off together on a chocobo.
Not Ramza and Alma, because that's why are they running together on a chocobo? Like, that sounds really wrong. Okay, that came out wrong.
It did.
But
I don't. No.
Whatever.
No, thank you.
You know what I'm getting.
I do. Yes. No twincest. No brother ciscon shit. None of that stuff. It's just plain old wholesome gay. Boy.
Yes, this is the problem with Final Fantasy. It is not gay enough.
Or sometime, yes. Yeah, I was gonna say maybe. No, it's never been not gay. It's never been gay enough. How about that?
We had Final Fantasy 15, and they did nothing with it. Absolutely nothing with it.
Yeah.
Hello?
I can hear you.
They were camping.
They were.
There were 4 of them camping. My God. What could have been?
I say this as a 99% straight dude. Never been gay enough. Also,
anyways, this is my vision for Final Fantasy Tactics. Square Enix, fire the Oasis people and hire me instead. I will go through an intensive training course to learn how to build this massive distributive computing thing to like help you design this AI, and then you can put it in the games, and then Final Fantasy Tactics will be the hardest game ever made, but also with the best story ever.
No. I got it. All right, Square Enix, fire Oasis with a Y. Hire Oasis with an I. And then it's Wonderwall time. We'd have Liam Gallagher making a Final Fantasy game. Everybody's got unibrows. It's going to be great.
That works too.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my spiel.
And no noses. The new Final Fantasy Tactics game. Incredible.
Yes. All right. So my game that I think Square Enix should go and port to the modern times is Final Fantasy Tactics. I mean, yes, obviously, but everyone said that. Everyone said that already, so I'm going to go with a different game that's very similar. I'm picking Vagrant Story. Vagrant Story is an extremely interesting game they released on the PlayStation 1. It is effectively their medieval take. I guess, like, the plot-wise, it's an action movie. It's like Die Hard, but medieval times with witches and things. So you play as Ashley Riot, this guy that's a risk breaker. He's a big hulking dude with like Jim's clothing. He would actually fit in very well with the Stranger Paradise crew. He goes into this place where there's this evil cult going on, and they're trying to summon an ancient god, and he just kicks a ton of ass. And also he has a very dark backstory, and there's a lot of wild twists, and it's basically as close as you'll ever get to Final Fantasy meets Metal Gear Solid in terms of how baroque the plot gets and how many action movie beats and betrayals and counter betrayals, and it's incredible. I've watched the entire thing cutscene-wise, and it is extremely enthralling. However, I've never played this game, because I've always found the gameplay to be extremely intimidating. There's a lot of things going on with it. It has a risk system, so you can combo against enemies, but the more you combo, there's counterintuitive things where it becomes more dangerous for you. You lose defense, but your attacks do less damage, so you have to attack in very specific rhythms, and then attack this thing and that thing, and all that just seemed terrifying to me. However, if this game gets ported to a modern system, what they will do is like what they did with Chrono Cross, where they'll put on a basically baby's difficulty level where you can just play it for this story and never lose a fight. And I think that's what that game needs. Also, it reminds me a lot of Bloodborne. Bloodborne, I mean, reminds me a lot of Vagrant Story. Just like in terms of the color palette and the general spooky vibe to it. So it's horror, Final Fantasy, Metal Gear action movie that is also in some way related to the general Ivalice universe. It is an incredible video game. More people need to play it, including me, who has not played it.
Important question.
Yes.
Is it gay enough?
There is a shirtless dude with metal arms that has, I believe he does have a boyfriend. I need to double check this. It's the guy's name is Sydney in the game. It's been a while. I wrote all these pages, but I remember Sydney has effectively a best friend character in his cult that they are very strongly implied might actually be into each other.
So I have actually tried to play Vagrant Story. My experience was that I couldn't really get past the first level because the gameplay was extremely clunky, and there were I don't even remember exactly what it was, but there were a lot of quality of life issues where I couldn't tell if the game was just fucking broken or if it was an emulation bug. And then after wasting an hour or two trying to get past a box or something, I just kind of gave up.
That could just be the game. I remember it has... Oh, another thing that scared me off is it has a bunch of box puzzles that are apparently really difficult. Alright, yes, John Harden is Sidney Losterot's second in command of the Mullenkamp cult. He is a 29-year-old tireless, faithful servant. He's loyal to Sydney, and despite a strained relationship, the two consider each other friends. So there you go. That effectively means confirmed gay in the Final Fantasy wiki language. Also, Sydney is also shirtless the entire game. Did I mention this?
Yes, you did. Multiple times, in fact.
Yes.
I looked up an image, and I do... Yes, okay, I understand. I see. So this has all of the qualities that Tactics does not. Tactics is a very good game, but it does lack some qualities, but I see. I understand.
As a matter of fact, I'm sure there is Sydney and John Harden fan art. And I will now look for it. I have to. Or maybe there isn't. Maybe this game is so obscure that no one's ever drawn this. Somebody has to do this.
Let me see. John Harden, AO3. This has to exist, right? John Harden, Archive of Our Own. Oh, shit. The composition of artist's soul means that healing magic will never... Okay, who cares?
It could be... John Harden's also an extremely common name, so it's going to be difficult to find Googling.
Harden wonders if it's inappropriate to be impatient for Sydney to come to bed when Sydney has been busy with priestly duties. Sydney reminds him that he's never been that kind of priest.
Oh yeah, Sydney also has the like open leather pants thing going on without a belt. He's got Cujo energy. And even though Cujo in Final Fantasy IX never at any point shows anything less than being straight, there's also no way that you dress that way and be 100% straight. You just can't do it. I feel like I'm digging a grave here with the way I'm talking this episode. Normally, Technobliterator is the one that digs his own grave during these episodes. I feel like I'm the one doing it now.
It's fine. Kat has already dug all the way down to Archive of Our Own.
Yes.
Which I forgot was a website, and have now been reminded is a website. But I'm actually somewhat impressed that fanfic exists of this 90s game.
You know what originally got me on this? Okay, we go back to Vagrant Story in a second, but you know what originally got me on this Final Fantasy Tactics absurd, stupid, like over-the-top remake idea?
Yes.
It was this... it was the discovery that there is a surprising amount of fanfic of... what are their names? Agrias's two, like, female servants...
I thought it would be Lad I thought it'd be Lad and Agrias, because Lad has that event where he tries to buy Agrias a birthday present.
I think you're thinking of Mustadio.
Oh, Mustadio does it. Yes, you're right.
I don't think Lad has any lines at all.
No, Lad is just a generic that joins the game at the very beginning. Though I think he has something, because I've seen him in like in Final Fantasy XIV. I think Lad shows up as one of the Evilly's crew. I know the Chocobo does. Yeah, I don't remember who Agrias's two female assistants are in that game.
Alicia and Lavian. Apparently there is a decent amount of fanfic about Alicia and Lavian, which is baffling.
Well, they are generic female, and you put two women in a scene in anything, somebody's going to draw lesbian art of it.
You put anyone in a scene and someone is going to draw fan art. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. God damn, like, people go so fast now. Like, Nintendo releases a Pokemon in a trailer. There will be pornographic art of that Pokemon before the official render gets tweeted out. That's how bad things have gotten now.
No, stop. This is Pokemon. This is a family-friendly pot. Well, it's not.
It hasn't been for a while.
Sure it's not. It has not been for a while. This is true.
Yeah, there's a lot of darkness in the world. We just live in it. All right. I said at the beginning of this thing that it's a time of deep confusion and uncertainty, and also Final Fantasy. So, does anyone have any final thoughts, or should we just wrap this guy up? We don't need to go long.
I think, yeah. I said what I wanted to say. I want to play Vagrant Story now, and maybe oh, you know what? There's got to be a way to emulate PS1 on your phone, and then I can just play Vagrant Story on the train or something. Well,
if you buy yourself a Steam Deck, there's a lot of black magic that could be done with that. And you could play it on the train. Even though I've never used the Steam Deck as a mobile device of any kind, I just play it in my living room because it's so big and it feels so expensive that you're just terrified of dropping the thing. Because I know, this thing, you drop it once, it's dead. You'll have to send it back to Valve. Anyway, I do have one last thing. Just one final bit. Square Enix, also please remake Xenogears, because that's another deeply flawed and really fascinating game from the PlayStation 1. And also remake Terranigma, which is an Enix game on the Super Nintendo, where you play God and you create the world.
Wait, that actually sounds amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah, like
It's a really, really fascinating game. At the beginning, you create the continents. Then, during the course of the game, every dungeon is effectively a day in the Book of Genesis. And there's long sequences that are like... Have you ever seen the movie Kiniwa no Satsi? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right.
Blue, you have seen more movies than I will ever see.
Okay.
In 7 lives.
That's a 70s art film with Philip Glass music that's like long montages of human civilization and the impact that humanity has on nature. It's a really interesting thing to watch. It's, I guess, effectively a documentary with no commentary. So you just watch like sped up scenes of people walking through cities and stuff. And amazing music. They use the music in the Watchmen movie when Dr. Manhattan transforms. They use music from Kiniwa no Satsi, which I don't think I'm saying that word a lot right. I couldn't spell it if you asked me to. But there are sequences like that on the Super Nintendo. That's how cool things were getting on the Super Nintendo. They were emulating weird 70s art films. So please remake that too. Anyway, I should wrap it up, right? The Broncos are on in about 20 minutes, so we got to wrap this up. Oh, by the way, how'd your fantasy team do?
Let's see. My wide receiver, instead of getting 18 points, got 1.40 points.
Oh no, did he get hurt?
No, he wasn't feeling it today.
Okay.
But they won as a team. So
okay.
I'm currently projected to be 40 points under projection. Very nice.
That's not good.
Very nice.
But are you going to win?
Am I going to win? Well, I did win 2 years ago, and I got second place last year while riding the wave of RNG. So we have to take the losses on the way to RNG victory. So I'm holding out for a third place this year. This week is a bump in the road. How about you? Are you?
I played David Montgomery, who got hurt almost immediately in this game, and was out. So I got 1 point out of him. And DJ Moore is a serious disappointment, and I don't know what to do with him. Like, he is untradeable at this point in terms of his problems. Oh, by the way, I am just horrendously bad at fantasy, and nothing good ever happens to me in fantasy. I've made playoffs once in the 5 years I've done it. But it looks like I am going to win this week. With only 120 points, I will win because my opponent played Keenan Allen, who did not play at all, and Justin Herbert is terrible because he's injured. And what do you expect out of him?
He's injured?
He's injured, yeah. He busted his ribs really bad last week, and he's got like serious like cartilage damage. So he's playing like hurt. We need to stop. We need to stop the podcast. This was supposed to be a quick check-in before we ended it, and I went full football brain, like hard football brain. This is not what anyone wants to hear. Not on a Final Fantasy podcast. So, we are the Final Fantasy Wiki. We are the #1 Final Fantasy Wiki in the entire universe. We're the greatest archive of Final Fantasy knowledge that I'm pretty sure exists at all. I think even Square Enix does not have as much knowledge as we have on our website. Though, I'm probably completely wrong about that. I'm talking out of my ass. Whatever. This show is hosted by me. I'm BlueHighwind, also known as Eric Fuchs. Hire me if you want people to write about video games. I'd love to do it. But then you're going to fire me in 2 or 3 years because the video game industry and the media industry are a fucking hellscape. So maybe don't hire me. Maybe I'm good just not doing that. Anyway, our music for this podcast is La Moha... God damn, I can't talk. I need to finish this. I have no breath left. I have no spit. La Montana de los Caballos Jovenes, which is the Mount Koltz music from Final Fantasy VI, which was made by XPRTNovice on the Balance and Ruin OC Remix album. Thank you so much for letting us use that. And I think that's all the things that we have to go and talk about. Is there anything else I need to credit? What's our website's URL, please?
finalfantasy.fandom.com/wiki/final_fantasy_wiki.
Thank you.
Yay, we love it.
Yay, we did it.